Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. Hanging out with these nerds.
I'm Scott.
Nate.
Ted.
And today we're going to delve into a spoiler-ridden review, discussion, whatever you want to call it. Rogue One, we're talking about it today.
Jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
And once again, we're going to warn you, there's going to be spoilers.
If you haven't seen Rogue One, just go watch it and then come back and watch the video.
Yes. The first thing I said when I walked out of that movie and I talked to anyone, and this is spoiler-free, was it was an ending like any other Star Wars movie ever.
Unlike
any other Star Wars.
Really unique.
I was in the same boat. I thought, as they're approaching the end, I'm like, all right, this could happen or that could happen. No. Throw that out the window. Throw it out the window. Nope. Spoilers. They kill everybody.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's fascinating. 5 out of 5 stars. I was blown away by the film. It was like a special experience for me. To me, the heart of the film was the characters. So you had Cassian Andor and Jyn Erso and Galen Erso and Orson Krennic and Chirrut Îmwe, and you had Baze Malbus. And, K2SO, it just went on. And I thought it's really fascinating you guys are saying those characters are dead, because that's one of the reasons that I love Star Wars so much. Those characters are dead. Who cares? I get to see them in video games, novels, tie-in animated shows, toys. And so one of the things I loved is
what you're saying is it's Disney and they will never go away.
Exactly. These characters are so I think that's one of the great things is with Star Wars, it's such a huge property and there's so many venues for those stories that I'm excited to see a lot more from every single one of these dead characters, which is kind of neat.
Well, it's the darkest ending to any of the Star Wars
without
movies.
a doubt, yeah.
And I'm sure, right, if you happen to be an alt-writer and a Star Wars fan, your panties are going to be so far up in a bunch it ain't even funny.
You think so?
Right, so
where was the white male protagonist?
Well, actually, Jyn Erso was really pulled back a lot. If you got, just so everybody's aware, rewatch the trailers. The trailers are completely gone. My daughter was like, what happened to every single line in the trailer? I Rebel? Not in there. Virtually everything. They really scaled back Jyn Erso.
I was looking for that particular line, and I'm like, okay, this is when she's going to say it. Oh, it wasn't there. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Until we actually brought it up.
Yeah.
I really had forgotten about that particular line.
Oh, wait, there is one almost white protagonist, male, and he looks
K2SO?
and the rebel. What's his name? You remember? I forget.
Cassian Andor.
Yeah, but he's like the Rock, where he could be like
killing people.
Like he could be anything, he's really ambiguous in his appearance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just thinking about it. I'm just so glad that I was born in this time. I've been able to see all the films in the theaters, and it's amazing that this project just keeps growing, and the world is so large and voluminous. Rogue One was really special to me. What were your guys' experiences overall?
So here's what was going on when I was watching the movie. And by the way, guys, if you found your way here by accident and you're not familiar with Nerdarchy, we're actually a tabletop role-playing game channel, mostly D&D.
Yes.
So I kept thinking about the Star Wars games we've run. I was like,
FFG, yeah.
What was the black guy with
Finn,
with the heavy weapons?
Baze Malbus, absolutely.
I'm like, that's what my character could have been if we just had a few more sessions.
Oh my goodness, he was a wrecker, dude, man, with that weapon. So he had, a fully automatic laser rifle, and he was just wrecking people left and right.
That was like the M60 version of a laser rifle.
Well, it was fully automatic, and it had a targeting system on it. So it was just
insane.
like bam, 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 bam.
In fact, there was one of the few things that I had a few nitpicks with the film, and that was one of them, because that weapon was bonkers, deadly and dangerous, and it should have slowed him down. But he was quick as a snake. And I don't feel...
He went all the way up his tree, brother.
I really felt that, you could see everybody else there running and juking and jiving, and he's just like, all right, I'm slogging through.
Yeah. And he just constantly had that energy ball with him that he's moving around, and it's not like they totally ignored it. He had he had the backpack that was connected to it. He had a weapon, and then he had this ball thing.
Oh yeah,
that was also
that was
part
powering
of it.
Yeah.
So
that was a power source.
It wasn't like they ignored it.
Oh, right, right.
Like,
yeah.
I don't feel they
I think
highlighted
he
it.
proficiently used and kind of like predicted where he needed to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, the other thing...
So if he could like throw something in a direction, like start moving your weapon and then follow it, kind of thing, rather than.
But would anybody disagree that I think he was probably the most dangerous combatant on the field at any point? Does anybody think anybody was?
He
worse?
was devastating. Yes.
I feel he was devastating in a
En masse.
inverse, yeah, in an en masse situation, 1-on-1. And I saw the movie once, and to me, I didn't capture the names of anybody.
Me neither.
Yeah, so I can help with that. So Baze Malbus, he's the heavy weapons guy. Chirrut Îmwe, now, go right ahead.
That's the guy he was protecting.
Right, exactly.
That's where I would go. Like, anytime he was doing anything, he just added so much grace.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, that guy, I felt.
1-on-1 or in close, he was the most dangerous. He was also the first example we saw of a purely force-sensitive character in any of the movies, and he had a larger role, but his force sensitivity is much higher than we've ever seen without actually being a Jedi.
Right.
Yeah, actually, there's a huge question there as far as, so let's break into Chirrut Îmwe. So I had the opinion that he really had no force powers whatsoever, and that the Force essentially was protecting him because the Force knew that he was a complete adherent. Do you guys think at any times he was actually using the Force?
Only to
Yes.
see. So,
Like,
yeah.
he used it to see, and I 100%, when they said that's the switch and they panned to him, I was honestly expecting him to reach out his hand and pull that lever. That is 100% what I was thinking. Yeah. I'm like,
They'd mentioned that he was like a monk of.
So he was
Jedi,
a disciple of the Kyber, and so
But
the
it makes
Holy
me
City.
think that he didn't pass the Jedi tests. That's what I got out of.
So from what I saw,
how much he's in with the Force and wasn't a Jedi. I feel like he.
I just figured there was no Jedi left to teach him.
No. So here's my understanding of what he was. So we see him on the Holy City first, which is a place where they're harvesting Kyber in order to use it in the Death Star, and this is really wild too. So at first we're like, whoa, they're using Kyber crystals to power the Death Star? That's totally wrong. Let's also forget that the Jedi did it first by putting them into lightsabers. Like, oh my gosh, right? So, and that's what he was the Holy City. They would take these crystals out of the ground. He was a disciple of the Kyber, and and they had this temple there with these crystals, and I think they would then provide them to the Jedi to be used for the lightsabers. Mm-hmm. That's all we know so far, and even that's shreds of it. So, and I think one of the things that I was really excited about is my take on Chirrut, and I think it really isn't open to interpretation, is that he is Force dedicated. He's not Force sensitive. He's not a Force user. He's Force dedicated. But I think there's a lot of evidence to go down the road to say he was using the Force at times. It's really up in the air.
Yeah, it's going to be a spot where a lot of speculation can happen. But let's look at it. When New Hope begins, which is like the next movie, Luke Skywalker is, 18, 20, something like that. Well, so that's how long it's been since Order 66 was executed.
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, his character isn't particularly old, so that would probably bring him back to being a teen himself when the last time Jedi were around.
Yeah.
So the opportunity.
It's a great
but
point.
That being said, that the younglings actually start as children being trained. So you may have a valid point there.
But it lends credence to your situation of maybe he's Force sensitive, but he failed the trials or wasn't ever discovered.
It's interesting. Yeah.
I look at it as that's the situation. To me, there is no way he's not Force sensitive with all the stuff that he's doing. You don't dodge laser blasts.
He did. He
And
absolutely dodged
he
laser
did
blasts.
it without a problem.
Multiple times. Yeah.
Repeatedly.
It was really
shooting down the
interesting.
TIE fighter and then it falls into.
and he was like a blind guy fighting about a dozen stormtroopers.
What did you guys think of the addition of martial arts to the Star Wars world?
It completely fits.
I agree.
I feel that not only is there some of the samurai code in some of the stuff that the Jedi do, but there are times that blocks and things that you have seen in previous Star Wars films are there.
Forget all of that. Throughout history in our world, I don't think there's any society or culture that hasn't developed their own form of fighting unarmed.
Yeah, and that's all based on the idea that it's efficient movement of the body, and you're basically weeding out all the wrong ways of doing something. You know, with a particular thought pattern in mind or situation.
It just comes down to mankind has been trying to kill each other since the very beginning, whether they had a weapon or not.
Removing any culture from it, you're going to develop a efficient fighting style.
Right. Exactly.
But if you want to say, well, I don't care about history, I care about the Star Wars universe, look at Darth Maul. The way he moved, the way he fought,
He's precedence. That's a great point.
Use physical attacks.
That's
in his fighting
good
style.
point. Ray Park was the guy who did him.
Yes.
That's right, and he absolutely used martial art. That's a good point.
Because
So it's
he
not
himself
unprecedented
is
at
a
all.
martial artist.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, and I love that, and I think I'm really excited about how we're going to be able to see an advancement of action scenes in Star Wars, where they're going to rival any of the action scenes in any of the films if they didn't already, and really allow there to be really new types of action scenes within the Star Wars.
So
films.
for how much we talked about the monk, one of the things I kind of missed out of the Rogue One was a little more backstory on all of the main characters. Would have been I would have sat for another 20-40 minutes to get a little bit more. So you kind of had something.
I think that was a thought pattern that they might have had. I don't know what kind of bonus features they're going to wind up having for the Blu-ray or DVD release, but I think they knew going in, we're killing these characters. If we give you too much story on all of them, people are going to walk away upset. We give you the one, they give you Jin, and
we can't make you too attached. We are off and all these guys.
You had a great point. Bodhi Rook is the pilot. He's the Imperial cargo pilot who's sent by Galen Erso to help, to deliver the message. And I really liked his character a lot. And I think there's some really deep things in the film that haven't even been discussed deeply yet about him, and I really would like to have known more about him. He was one of the deaths that impacted me the most. I was like, no, are you kidding me? And he was early on, and it was just, you're getting the idea, oh my gosh, they might start killing people, and then as it keeps going on, you get the idea, oh my gosh, they might kill everyone, right? I didn't feel that everyone was going to die until
they all died.
Well, no, until the Mon Calamari Captain General. I don't know what his rank was.
Yeah,
but when he's like, "All right, we got it. They're Darth Vader's forces are incoming. We're out," and I'm like, there's no rescue. They're not going to make it. Oh, no.
Yeah, I have to say, I was really kind of bought in on the whole there were some politically correct aspects of it, and I really liked that. I love that Donnie Yen is a Chinese actor, and he played Chirrut Îmwe. He was in there. Cassian Andor is Hispanic, the actor who played him, and it was just all over. And actually, they were even showing kind of inclusiveness in aliens. So that Admiral, I think his name was Admiral Risson, and I love that we finally get a Mon Calamari Admiral who's more than a joke, right? Because I think, the Admiral Akbar, everybody says it's a trap. They like doing the voice, but he was a real character,
I don't feel like that was the intent when he appeared. It's just what the fans took it, ran with it, and never let go.
Right, oh, definitely. Absolutely.
I think that's more of a nostalgia factor as opposed to them trying when they initially filmed it to, all right, we're going to make this guy a joke. I don't feel
that one line has made that character legendary.
Oh, yeah.
Forever.
Absolutely.
We're talking about him right now.
But one of the great things is I'm really excited to see more of the Mon Calamari and see their race be an important part of the films, and the idea of having these really rich alien cultures in the middle of these films being treated in a way much like the human characters, you just don't see that in many series. No. I was so, Speaking
of the Mon Calamari, and again, me geeking out here, in all of the previous iterations of the Mon Calamari, they're always red. Well, now we're seeing these white and these off-white ones. Is there
wild.
Did that affect you? Did that feel that there was any kind of difference? Because I've read a handful of Star Wars novels. We've got some of the Star Wars books, but I've always been they're red. That's the color of their race.
Yeah.
And some of the racial books do talk about the different skin tones, like was it the Tabaxi, the one that Darth Maul is? They when they made him, they're like, oh well, we don't know whether he's red with black tattoos or black with red tattoos.
Right. I was wondering that too. Yeah.
So now we have this new thing. Anything that's in the films is automatically canon. So did they decide, well, we don't want to do red or what?
What did you guys think of the new? They really played with canon a lot, and one of them was the addition of the Hammerhead blockade runner, the ship that was used to ram into one of the Star Destroyers and then move it like a tugboat.
I like it.
Oh yeah, it was an awesome scene. Yeah. Are you saying it was designed to do that, or
so we've never seen? So I thought it was really fascinating because it was.
I thought it was a
blockade
desperate move.
Yeah, and it was a blockade runner saying, "Hey, this is a blockade runner. You guys have seen those before. We put a ramming plate on the front massively and given it special engines." And one of the things that is a little challenging with Rogue One is they're introducing all these new things in a prequel, and you're kind of like, well, why didn't we see, if they had these weapons, why didn't we see them later? So I loved it. I thought from a dramatic perspective it was really cool.
To answer your question, number one, the Rebels, the entire alliance from its iteration somewhere before Rogue One starts to when it eventually dies, whenever it actually does, with all of the Imperial stuff, because I don't know what books are canon after Return of the Jedi, but there's still Imperial stuff that happens afterwards. They're desperate. They're always looking to be like, all right, this is what I need to do to survive, to win, whatever the situation is. And that particular captain, admiral, general that's captaining that ship says, this is what I can do right now. If that guy didn't make it out of that battle,
right,
maybe that no one else is willing to try that maneuver. You saw the impact damage of that maneuver on the winning ship.
Right.
So
did they survive? We don't even know.
Listen, common sense here, right? In space, you do not take your vessel and ram something else with it, because all it takes is a little hole to kill everyone on your ship. Like, that's a desperation.
It really
so
was.
It's what it was, and it was fantastic because it took down 2 Star Destroyers, and then the shield generator.
Yeah.
So
now my thing is, I don't think it should have pretty much decapitated the other one, but.
Yeah,
I mean, if it had taken out like the top and the bridge, that would have been totally legitimate. But it cut like way too far into all of the inner workings of the second one.
Well,
I thought what was going to happen. I mean, it looked really cool, but I thought what was going to happen is we were going to shove the one that was completely dead, like it had been ionized, like whatever it does to stop the.
You thought that one was going to go into the shield gate?
They were going to smash that one in the shield gate.
That's what I was.
So when they smashed it into the other one, I was like, all right. And then I was just like, wow, it just keeps going, like hot knife through butter. This is a little strange, but yeah.
Well,
so I thought that was a little overkill on the,
I could see that interpretation, but we also don't know the level of the engines that were turned on to make that happen.
Plus, here's the other thing, right? The first thing you said is exactly why they did it. It looked cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What more do you need? Like, I'm kind of a simple guy. Give me some explosions, some new one-liners.
What did you guys think of the villains? So we had Orson Krennic in there. We had Moff Tarkin. We had Darth Vader. What did you guys think of the villain? Oh, and Galen Erso was kind of a little on both sides. What did you guys think?
I don't consider Galen Erso a bad guy.
Definitely,
double agent.
He was double agent at best. He was a pawn at worst. Darth Vader in his cameos, excellent job. Without a Jedi to counterbalance him, he cannot be your major adversary. That's just the way it's got to work.
He did what he was there to do: kick a bunch of ass and leave.
Right. Yeah. I felt perfectly done. He had just the correct amount of screen time. You gave him the proper voice. Yay, James Earl Jones. And then they bring back Grand Moff Tarkin, who isn't Grand Moff yet. So I thought that was really cool to see that kind of rise.
Yeah.
And then what was the guy that
Orson Krennic.
Yeah. So I thought he was kind of cool as your actual adversary throughout the whole thing. And I'm like, all right, I know this guy's gonna die. When's it gonna happen? So like you know that this is your major villain for the movie. He's no one of any real consequence, but he has enough power to pull strings and make things happen. So it's like, all right, where's it gonna go?
He was really interesting in the sense that, listen, his story arc is middle management trying to get into upper management.
That's true. That's true.
and he's getting shut down by upper management. Like, no, I'll be sure to take credit for this. Thanks for the idea.
But he also had those scenes where he's just like, no, this is my weapon. And just like got so frustrated. I've seen those moments at work.
But it made that character far more real in those moments than other people on the set or on the screen.
In a sense, okay, so it's kind of minor, and it really is a undercurrent. But if you look at it, right, it gives us a glimpse of military politics, right, a little bit, and that was interesting. I thought it was a cool touch. I don't know if many people, even noticed or cared, but yeah, I just thought it was just a nice little thing that they added to it.
Yeah, it was also interesting that you see like everything has to go through the Emperor, so they're all scrambling to get just even a word or two to the Emperor or in front of the Emperor.
Could you mention my name again in front of him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, for Darth Vader, it was a really special moment for me. I saw the movie twice, and so the first time when I saw Darth Vader, I was like, oh my gosh, and he sparks the red lightsaber. I was like, oh man, these people are gonna get wrecked, and he did, and I was like, holy cows, this is the Darth Vader this is what we were told to fear. We've actually seen it rather than being told that Darth Vader was super dangerous.
And at the very end, his basically his hallway scene, right, in Netflix terms, you guys know what I'm talking about, was amazing, where he just rips through people like it was nothing, and and the whole time going, you gotta get the thing through the door, you're gonna die, just get it through the door.
Now that's the part. Now when I saw it actually the first time I saw the movie, I was so stunned. Like the movie just kind of washed over me, and I caught some of it, because the Star Wars movies are really special to me. When I saw it the second time, it was the only time this happened in the film, but I actually cried when Darth Vader came up, and the reason why was I remembered when I was in Georgia and I was 7, and I saw these same type of soldiers on the rebel side, and they were so frightened, and now to see those same guys, like a whole room of them desperately trying to get away from him, knowing they're in a tube and they're all going to die. And it really just clicked with me, and I really felt for all of those rebels. It was the one time in the film I cried. It was just, it was something. Yeah, it was a
Disney
powerful film.
has done a really good job of handling Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Even Disney Rebels, when they bring Darth Vader on as a pilot, and like you get to see a whole new aspect of Darth Vader. You get to see him as the most feared pilot in the galaxy.
Yeah,
because he just rips through. He just rips through the rebels are as if they were nothing.
Well, and even in this film, we really get the idea that they're saying, do not forget, Darth Vader is not like every other soldier. This guy is barely alive. This suit is keeping him alive. He's in constant pain, and so we got to see his back to bath, and we got to see some of his servants. He's such an epic character already, and just to see this movie invest even more in him.
We get to see him choking under a coworker again. It's amazing.
It's pretty wild.
So, what do you guys think about the cameos?
Yeah.
And there's a couple different
Bail
angles
Organa.
You got to see Bail. You got to see essentially
R2D2
C-3PO, but you got to see the digital Leia.
Oh my goodness!
Which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, you know what? With doing this, like, unfortunately, they're going to need practice with that one.
Yeah.
But because as the time of this video is going up, it'll probably be like a week or so since Carrie Fisher has passed, and
Well, I did see a report that she did actually finish her recording for episode 8.
Right.
So that's covered. It's a matter of what's going to happen either in post or what's going to happen in episode 9. Like, are they going to write her out, or are they going to digitize and
Well, like what they did with Tarkin, right?
Yeah. There was also some other really small cameos. So a lot of people believe that the ship from Rebels, the Ghost, is actually in the film. There's a few points where people are saying, like, that is absolutely the Ghost. And then also there's a point where Mon Mothma talks to Cassian Andor and talks about his Jedi friend, right, to Cassian Andor, and a lot of people think that she was talking about Ahsoka Tano from Clone Wars, and so there are a lot of cameos. By far, my favorite was Bail Organa, played by Jimmy Smits. I think he did a fantastic job, and it was just so cool seeing Princess Leia's father, seeing a guy from the prequels, giving a little prequel love in there. It was pretty awesome.
I thought it was really well done. My daughter, who's 4, because he's quote unquote yellow, loves C-3PO.
Yeah.
And like, we weren't certain, whether they were going to be in there, and like, she literally jumped up and down when he got on screen.
Speaking of droids, KS2O, we finally get a droid character that isn't merely there to appease children or to be comic relief. Now, a lot of the stuff that he does has comic value but he wasn't a comical character.
Right.
You know what the odds of her shooting with you with a blaster? It's high. It's very high. He's so funny.
He was the perfect straight man.
Yeah, he was.
I did love his character, and Alan Tudyk actually did an interview with, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, the guy who played C-3PO, Anthony.
Oh, yeah, I think it's I don't remember either. You're
so
right.
I'm certain you
Maybe
guys in the
Anthony
comments,
Daniels, but yeah,
you'll let me know.
Forgive
But-
us.
But he talked about doing the droid and how challenging it would be, and C-3PO was like, did you have to walk around in that uncomfortable suit? He's like, no, it's just a voice. And he's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off. What were you going to say?
Well, with the droids, you always have they kind of get to state all the stuff about humans from the third person perspective, in a sense. So in a lot of ways, that brings in a lot of comedy, because this is hypocritical right here, or this is absolutely ridiculous. You guys do this, and it's nice because it's kind of like ironic comedy.
And even the line like where we're all going to die in space. Well, not me. I'll be fine. His lines are just like every line, which is hysterical. Why does she get a blaster? I don't get a.
And also, for me, when you bring that up, that was kind of an emotional scene when she gives him the blaster,
right?
And you can see how significant that it was to him.
Yeah.
And even though he's a machine, he still the emotion came through. And not only that, he actually did have one of the best death scenes in the movie. Yeah. So that was good as well.
Now
I thought personally that was the most touching, because it's a droid. He's not supposed to want to go for the sacrifice maneuver, and that's the first thing that he thinks about. I'm like, that's awesome.
Now, actually, I'm calling it. I'm calling K2SO as the Mary Sue of this film. He's as strong as a Wookiee, right? His specialty is strategic planning. Like, okay, you build him like a tank, and his specialty is strategic planning. He uses a blaster like he's a Deadeye with the blaster, right? Exactly,
Yeah.
And then he's the awesomest pilot. In fact, Bodhi Rook, the pilot, is constantly sitting next to him, telling him how to pilot. I'm like, what, So I think they gave him a little too much power, and they could have scaled back. But I'll actually throw this out there, and I don't even have to discuss this now, but I actually think that Bodhi Rook standing next to him, talking to K2SO while he's piloting, is actually a commentary on the automation of jobs in today's society. Just throwing it out there.
Well, here's my whole take on that. Technically, droids are going to be superior. Computer brains, okay, and physically they're superior. They don't need to eat.
Yeah.
They don't need to drink. They don't need to breathe.
C-3PO was made, a generation before K2SO, and it was made by Anakin. If K2SO has the ability to process at the same speed as C-3PO, he's gonna be a vastly superior thinking power. So he's like, I'm not even going to bother giving you the odds because it's meaningless to you flesh bags.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, why didn't they just make a whole droid army of K2SOs?
Yeah, he brings up so many questions.
In the prequels, they did.
Yeah, that's true. Droid armies,
I know, and they're kind of ineffective in comparison. Yeah. But that was whenever,
that's when they had
Jedi's all over the place.
I think we actually get our answer to that in this film. The Empire makes all these terrible decisions because they have massive infighting at the top, which totally makes sense. So there's an exchange between two Imperial officers, Darth Vader and Orson Krennic. It ends with him, well, I didn't like what you said. I'll just choke you now. That's institutional problems in management. Right?
Well, I mean, we see in A New Hope that same iteration when... he's talking to the two people, and he essentially gives a field promotion to the other guy. Yeah. And again, I don't remember. It's
Admiral Piet. Yeah.
Oh, by offing the other guy. Yeah.
Yes, he kills that one. It's like, all right, now you're this.
Do not fail me. Exactly. Yeah.
Ursa Jin, right? Yeah. So we haven't mentioned her other than saying it looks like some of her lines got cut. She was pretty awesome. She had great fight scenes. She was trained by Forrest Whitaker's character.
Saw Gerrera, exactly. Yes.
Right. So now that I've mentioned both an actor's name and a character's name, I'm done because I don't really remember anybody else. She's the only character we kind of got some backstory from. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not that big. I don't really care about backstory that much. I don't think it's all that relevant, and I think you run the risk of telling too much when you start. And I've seen a lot of movies suffer from the origin complex.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, the best movies have figured out how to incorporate the origin story without like bogging down the whole movie. And then when you've got so many characters, how do you flow back and forth between them all?
Yeah.
You can't do that in a 2.5-hour movie and give justice to the amount of backstory if you're going to have that many characters. Now, I felt that she was quite cool. I would like to have known a little bit more about what she had done to get in jail, because in the trailers they talk about this laundry list, and I think they cut that part out.
That is a good point. Yeah.
So clearly, she's a badass and a rebel and all that other kind of stuff to get into those type of situations. But what were they?
She's probably just a petty criminal. I mean, they didn't execute her.
And it's the Empire stuff, so I mean, you don't pay a tariff or you try and smuggle something, you're going to get slapped.
Well, and one of the things I think is clear is she's actually not a rebel when we meet her. She is a survivor.
Sorry,
right, yeah.
I use the term rebel as in not part of the Alliance.
Yeah. But one of the things I loved about the film is, so Jin's backstory is pretty depressing. Like, her strength really comes from her mother, because her mother and her father are both threatened by Orson Krennic, right? And her mother's like, bam, here's a gun, I'm going to shoot you dead. And then she gets killed by his own men. Galen has the same threat, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'll build a Death Star for you. Okay.
Now, going on to the mom, I don't know whether any of you guys picked up on this, but it looked like she had on like the Jedi tunic. Now, I don't know whether that was something... that
I think it's just clothing.
Was just clothing, or whether that was supposed to be significant.
No, because from later in the movie, I think what you find out is she's actually military. But what you're saying, actually, I feel like Erso took the longer sacrifice in building the Death Star, because he says they're going to build it whether I do or not.
So at least he can put the flaw in it. Actually, the hidden flaw that can destroy it.
If you think about it, he spent over a decade.
Yeah.
Dealing with these people that he despises and hates just to get back at them.
Yeah. And to your point, it is a really important part of the film where something that a lot of people have said for decades, so why was it so easy to destroy the decade?
They answered it.
Yeah, and they took an entire movie, and it really makes a lot of sense.
There are so many jokes and animated videos and stuff that are out there that are calling into question how is a farm boy able to do this thing? Well, now it's finally answered. It's actually was designed that way.
I really want to talk about Saw Gerrera a little bit. So one, I loved Saw Gerrera. I think Forrest Whitaker. So Saw Gerrera, he is actually, his character comes directly from the Clone Wars animated show, which is really exciting. And then one of the things was really, and we get to see him old now, but one of the things that was really interesting was we see the rebels, and they have these X-Wings, and they are fighting so hard against the Imperials. And when they introduce Saw Gerrera, he is saying, you rebels are lightweights, man. Right. You need to step up your game, destroy everything, complete militant. And I love the idea of showing these rebels as lightweight pacifists, in comparison. Like, that's how you establish, a really hardcore warrior.
Tying this back to, the tabletop role-playing, side of things. When I see these kind of moments, in order to be the guerrilla-style fighters that rebels need to be, or Saw Gerrera stuff needs to be, I don't see let's pull off the armor bits. Let's stack the guns. It's drop and go. Like, I kind of like that. That's the thing that I miss. Like, that's needed. That's the only way you successful do that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You need to run missions that you're going to go in and steal a single ship.
Yeah.
That's how things get moving.
Yeah, but what was really interesting was just seeing Saw Gerrera at his base with all of his people and all those people. When it came time to scramble everybody out, he kind of did the captain's thing. Like, I'm staying on the ship. I'm staying with the base. I'm making sure everybody's out. I'm not scrambling to get out of here. And I also think you're seeing a warrior at the end of his life. Saw Gerrera was a really, really interesting character in the film.
When you saw him move, he had not only the I'm old, but moving was a challenge for him. And I think he realized at that moment that there was no way. Like, if he decided he was going to go, the others would have tried to help, and they all would have suffered for him. And he's just like, nope, I'm done.
Which I thought was great because you're seeing a militant, but he's also really willing to sacrifice himself.
There was a lot of layers to that character, even though he didn't get a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
I also wonder if his screen time didn't get cut as well,
Yeah.
but because of that, like you could see right away, like first of all, the point was made, nothing was really off limits. What do we got to do? Rip that information out of that guy's head? Yeah, here's a monster.
Right,
Let's do this.
exactly. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and what is one of the things that he says to Jin right away? Did they send you to kill me? Are you here to kill me? Like that just goes to show how hard boiled and disillusioned he is with the world. Like this little girl that he raised, he's like his first thought was, she's here to, she's my assassin.
Too many coincidences all at once. Yeah.
But we also see right there that Jin was actually abandoned twice. You know, she lost her parents. She lost her mother to death. She loses her father directly to the Empire. And then Saw literally says to himself, I gotta leave her now so that because I've fully trained her and I have to do it the hard way to make her tempered. And she was tempered like a sword. Like Jin is this very strong character in the film. Very strong.
All right, so we've been going for quite a while. So why don't we say who our favorite character was from the movie? Maybe a quick bit about it, and wrap it up. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. So I'll start. Chirrut Îmwe, without a doubt. I mean, the whole movie was, in my opinion, about him. I think he's the future of Star Wars. He brought Force dedicated to Star Wars. He brought martial arts to Star Wars. He brought internationality, Donnie Yen did, to Star Wars more than ever before. And he had his own Chewbacca, which was Baze Malbus. So.
What about you, Dave?
KS2O, for sure.
KS2O.
Yeah, he had the best one-liners in the movie. It was so cool. He was so superior in every single way. Yeah, he was loyal because he was programmed to be.
Yeah.
But he was still at the same time, the perfect straight man and so cynical.
So funny.
How about you, Nate?
I'm not. I mean, I like the K2SO the best. So.
Yeah.
So I would. Was it Cassian?
Cassian
We
Andor.
didn't talk much
Yeah.
about him, but when they have the conversation between him and Jin about I lost this, I lost that. Like he just delivers it straight back. It's like you're not the only one.
Yeah.
And
Well, you know what? Going back to that, and going back to your favorite character, right? When they're in the ship, when he leaves,
Yeah.
he
says, "Did he have the face of a killer?"
right.
Yeah.
So again, that
Yeah.
was that him just being super perceptive
Oh,
as a
yeah.
blind guy,
It's a great point.
or was
Yeah.
he was the Force speaking to
Yeah.
him? And really, what is a Jedi but someone who speaks with the Force, and the Force speaks with them? So
There you go.
But so I thought Cassian was a very in-depth character, and while he did have a lot of screen time, we had no backstory. But yet I still feel that with the few lines that actually speak, actually in some cases the actions that he took actually spoke layers to his backstory
hugely.
as well.
And I think Cassian really represented the unsung hero, like the guy who's always doing it, behind the scenes, serving without the glory. And he was a great character. I agree. Yeah.
And they talked about him basically starting the same way Jin did, only his was in the rebellion, and he lived and breathed the rebellion. That was
Yeah.
his life.
And he did it for what, 20 years before Jin shows up.
Yeah,
Right.
well, as a kid, as a child, he was kind of born into it.
Right, and-
Second generation.
Yeah, and when Rogue One is formed, like right before they actually get the name Rogue One, which Bodhi Rook gives, Cassian's like, "I'm going with you, Jin," and there's like 20 dudes with him because they're like, "This dude lives and breathes the rebellion. This is the rebellion. It's the hard work that often isn't recognized." And Cassian was a
So
fantastic
I
character.
just
Yeah.
I figured that was the guy to shine.
Yeah, great
So,
point.
What do you guys think out there? Who was your favorite character? What was your favorite moment? How many times did you watch it? Put all that down in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can go check out Nerdarchy at nerdarchy.com.
You can also check us out over on Patreon.
So until next time, stay nerdy.